minutes on her story of Aliyah. Aliyah is where the Jewish people return back to their land, to the place, the land that their fathers were promised. And we all know what's going on in this world. And we know that anti-Semitism is on the rise. But they're called to be a light to the nations. They're called to share the Lord and His goodness, that we would see it in the land of the living. It's my honor and great pleasure to introduce Hadassah Lerner this evening as she shares with us and is going to share more about Aliyah. We're going to get a little of her personal story, and I look forward. So would you give her a big hand?
David, I'm on. Okay. Interesting little thing. Lord, thank you. Thank you for the worship. Thank you for your presence here. Yes. Thank you, you were in here before we even got here, Lord.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Thank you that every person here is here because you brought them here.
Yes.
You have a message for each heart.
Yes.
But I pray that each of us would just say yes. No questions, no what ifs, no how. Just say yes. We're preparing for your son. That's the goal of our life. The joy set before us.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. But we each have our part. We each have our part. Wake us up, Lord. Wake us up. Sober us.
Yes.
Sharpen our sword. Increase our discernment. Humble our hearts, Lord. Thank you. If our hearts aren't humble, He can't use us, and He won't use us. He'll resist us. And probably our biggest need in our lives as believers is to seek humility. Nobody needs to know what you're doing. Nobody needs to know how good we are, or how big we are, or how great we are, or what we're doing. I'm a mom. I'm a wife first. To a marvelous man. That's why I had my phone. It wasn't that I wasn't worshiping. My husband's in Israel. And I kind of woke him up because he told me when to let him know, let him know when we're doing it so he could worship with us a little bit. And we have 5 children. We have 17 grandchildren. Yeah, we had one more just 3 months ago. Yeah, 14 of them, praise God, are within walking distance in Israel. That's a real blessing. Because when I'm done, I can send them home too. They're close enough to say, okay, God. Something different in your share. There's something different, isn't there? Yeah. I'll give you a little of my testimony, but I think God's got something more than that tonight. I've been sharing the Aliyah testimony and the challenge. I think tonight He wants more of the challenge. My husband and I have one Jewish parent. We weren't raised Jewish. But by the time we got born again, during that hippie time, in between the revival, between 67 and 74-ish, we became really good Christians. Spirit-filled and doing the best we could with our 5 kids. We had 5 within 5 years, so it was a little taxing. And we were at a wonderful non-denominational church in Newport News, Virginia. And they're a missions church, and they're a challenging church. They were really good, and one night, really good sermon, everybody was on their knees. While we're all praying about that, the Lord is appearing to little thoughts to my husband, and He sees all of us getting off of El Al, and we were going to Israel, and it was long term. Well, coming from our background of mostly Christian, we're going to missions. We're going to be missionaries to Israel. And so He told me, got little kids, it might take a while to get trained, have the church send us out. So He told me to call the embassy to see what do we need to do to live in a foreign country, like Israel. So I called them, and they were really cute. They said, well, I want to live there. What do we need to do? And they said, are you Jewish? Jewish? Well, we didn't think of ourselves that way. It's like, well, yeah, I guess, parent on each side. They said, well, then you want to make Aliyah. I'm like, what's that? Big clueless, totally clueless. And she said, that's immigration to Israel. Because you're Jewish, you're allowed to immigrate and become Israelis. And I'm thinking, I'm American. I'm not leaving for good, I'm not looking too blues in that. But anyway, so she explained it a little bit. Spent about 10 minutes teaching me how to say it correctly. So Nassim gets home from work. He said, so what's the scoop? And I said, something called Aliyah. He didn't have a clue either. But we said yes. We spent the next 10 years learning holidays, what it means to be Jewish. Our church had said, we can't help you. They have missions, cross-cultural, but nothing for Jews, which was normal for most churches. And so we ended up at Beth Messiah Synagogue in Virginia Beach at the time. Actually, there's a couple here tonight that came up from further south, from South Carolina, that we knew in Virginia Beach. How many, 39 years ago? Yeah, praise God. I haven't seen them in 15 years. Has it been that long? Yeah, we had fun. We raised our kids together, dance team, worship team, Messiah conference, But, so we spent a good time getting ready and enjoying ourselves, And we thought, okay, we got this Jewish thing down, And so we moved to Israel. And we moved to Tiberias, which is, even Israelis are real thrilled with Tiberias. Kind of like one Israeli said, why'd you move there? They called it the armpit of Israel. It's like, well, but we knew God had taken us there. There were several reasons for it, but we knew He'd taken us there. And we stayed 6.5 years. And Aliyah is difficult. I mean, immigration to any country, we were talking about this at dinner last time, even coming up from South Africa, to hear you got the language, you're speaking English, isn't that good enough? No. When you move to a different country, it's not your home. Your friends are there, the way you do things, and for you, you switch seasons. Now Christmas is in winter, real winter, And in Israel, of course, where Tiberias is more Middle Eastern, Moroccan, Yemenite, not Ashkenazi like we are, like we're used to. There's a lot of cultural changes. Never mind the language. Never mind, anybody who's been to Israel, usually when you first think is this, ooh, they're really rude. And we are. Different priorities, let me put that way, different priorities. But the town we lived in, at the time, Israel only had maybe 1,200 to 1,500 Messianic Jews. There were Christians, because there's established churches in Israel, and there are born-again Christians there. But as far as Jews that believed in Yeshua, there were only 1,500-ish. We were definitely a minority, and they thought we're nuts. Literally, if our children were to get inducted into the army, and they found out before that they were Messianic, they didn't put them in there, because they thought were kind of mental cases, because they didn't know what to do with it. Lots of persecution. In Tiberias, the body there established a couple of, like a private school, and if anybody ever, a long time ago, it's not there as much now, the Galilee Experience, which was a tourist thing about life in the Galilee. It's a mission organization. There was lots of paranoia on the religious part, and which means that when my family moved in, we moved several times. We moved into this one particular neighborhood, not realizing we're moving kind of like right up to the electric socket of the religiosity in our city. Lots of persecution. Doors were set on fire, tried to run over the dog, the boys were beat up at school. I have twin boys that were beat up at school. Now, in all fairness, they kind of have hair trigger tempers too, so, it could have gone both ways. But we learned that people could pray curses on us when they work. Now we understand God allowed them to work because we needed to learn a lot. We thought we were spiritual. We thought we were strong. And we found out we were below zero. We had been to Russia before we made Aliyah, before Russia opened, to talk to Jewish people, to encourage them, because we knew it was opening. You could tell Russia was going to open in a couple years, to encourage them to come out and come to Israel. And while we were there, we were with intercessory teams who really didn't know how to intercede, and pray places like the Kremlin. You know, we're going to bring down this Iron Curtain. And, we learned we're watching, we're observing. And then they broke us up in pairs to march all the way around the outside of the Kremlin, which is a pretty long walk. And they put my husband and I together, rather than team us up with seasoned people. And after about 3 minutes, it's like, well, what do we do now? It's like, we didn't know. We didn't know how to take scripture and pray, or all the, real warfare. And I used to feel really, well, we were pretty clueless again. But up until today, God was so good. All I could see was this, he was very protective, because that's a big warfare to bring down the Kremlin. I mean, did we fast and pray? We didn't think about it. Everybody else had. It was just Tom Hess and that group, He was very protective over us. But today, if anybody's been to the Billy Graham Library, they have a section there about when Russia broke up and the Berlin Wall came down. And I was sitting there. That to me was the most meaningful room. I really relate to it because of my generation also, the Cold War, and being there and working with the Jews before and after. But while we were there, he said, I heard your prayer. I don't think I didn't hear it. It might have been a little, but you helped bring that down.
Wow.
I thought, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Wherever we get, we said yes. So we prayed for 3 minutes. We said yes. So we were in Tiberias, difficult time. Bigger attacks than we could ever imagine. Against our children, who were now becoming teenagers. Difficulties with the enemy sending people into our family life to steal our daughter or to destroy our son who was in the army. Of course, we were not necessarily the best parents either. We did what we thought we knew. Our marriage, we thought what we knew. And then he starts, there's a magnifying glass over Israel. And like all magnifying glasses, it magnifies. And if you hold it just right, it can burn. And what was good got magnified. And what wasn't was getting burned. God tells us over and over and over when he brings his people back to the land, he's going to clean us up because the land is holy. And he wants a holy people. And so what happened to us was the same thing that happened to our ancestors. We weren't. And he spit us out. He said, you go back and you get it right. I didn't say it quite that way. And after we came back to America, we had to look back and we figured out we got a lot to get straight. And we did. We spent another 10 years. But the first time he told us to make Aliyah, it was 10 years, 6.5, 7 years there. We came back for another 10 years. And he stripped, and he cleansed, and he twisted, and he pulled, and he disciplined. And he was so faithful. And we got it right. We got it more right. And he let us go back. This time, my husband and I came back in 2006. This time has been rose petals. Absolute rose petals. Now, we still have our sin, but I'm not saying we don't. But he is cleansing and he's doing it. Our children were pretty beat up when we went back. Same thing. They had the same determination. Israel for them was still a yes. And they they came back first. 3 of them came back before we did. Going to the army during the Intifada, and I went to school with my daughter with her children. But because of what we've been through, ours is probably a little more traumatic than some because we were believers, so we got a little bit more, But it's hard. It's a difficult thing to do. And because of that now, the Lord has put my husband and I in a position. He works for CBN News in Jerusalem with Chris Mitchell. He's the accountant for the company. And for our life, it's always been Aliyah, always. And we got a house. We have a house and it has 4 bedrooms. And we've been taking immigrants into the house to make a transfer place, a safe place, while they work out their part of the system. Now, several of those have been believers, because for believers it's a little more logistically difficult. And financially, with those logistics, it can be almost impossible. So we've had believers stay with us while they go through the process and get their papers and get their Hebrew. And the first woman got a job. She actually works for CBN also now. We had a Russian woman who was not a believer with an autistic daughter. She needed the space of time to get her daughter in the medical system. And so this couldn't speak to her. My Russian is really poor, but she's a smart little girl. She started learning English so we could at least communicate. And she was sweet. She was sensory seeking, so she was a little easier. You know, she wanted attention. She wanted to do things together. You know, and we'd had sensory children, so I knew when she needed pressure, you know, deep pressure. She'd roll herself up in the rug to get the pressure she needed to help her calm down. And it was good. It was good. And then we had my son. One of my sons works with the immigration, or works towards the Aliyah of the Chinese Jewish community in Kaifeng, China. It's an ancient community, and 20, 25 of them have made Aliyah. So one of the girls came and lived with us for 2 years, so that was kind of fun to have a Chinese daughter, like 18, 20 years old, something like that. And then the last girl, 29, she's a believer. And she came over without her family. She always wanted to come, and she came back, and she was with Sukkot Halal, you know, it's like IHOP, you know, Kansas City, and she was a nanny to one of the people there, and she got lonely, and she got pregnant. And she didn't know who the father was, so she really had a hard time. So her trauma turned into mega trauma. And my son, who knew her from Kansas, had called me and said, "Mom, you need to go get Eliana." And we went and got her. And she was a mess. She knew it. I mean, she knew what to do. She knew where it came from. She knew what to do. And we did. We did her inner healing, and she had a beautiful baby boy. And that was fun. We had a new baby in the house. Now, it's not like we don't have babies. We got 14 grandchildren coming and going all the time. It was always a new baby. But to have little Boaz there was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Just a cute little, another moon-faced baby is what I call him. And she just, right before I came here, she moved out. She's on her own. She's texting me, "I love this little boy. I'm so in love. And God's taking good care of me." She's more than healed. More than healed. On our brochure back there, after the testimonies I just gave you, you're going to know who said what. I've got these, you know, these little supposedly anonymous comments back there on the brochure. But it was a healing place. It was a safe place. It was a place for people to transition. We know, where do I have that? Wait a minute. In Jeremiah, God's really cool. The Lord says, "Behold, the days are coming, says the Lord, that it will no longer be said, 'The Lord lives, who brought us up out of the children of Israel from the land of Egypt,'" which you just made reference to when you were doing the prayers. You know, this whole Shabbat thing, when he brought us out of Egypt. I'm not going to say that anymore. Our religion is going to center around the Exodus from Egypt. He says, but we're going to say, "The Lord lives, who brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the nations where he had driven them. For I will bring them back into the land which I gave their fathers." So we're going to have another Exodus that eclipses the first one. The miracles were horrific. The miracles for us were horrific for somebody else. Now we had 3 of those plagues, and then all of a sudden we're in the land of Goshen, and we're seeing it with our eyes. 1,000 will fall on your right hand, 10,000 on your left hand, but will that come near you? Goshen is our example for the day that we're going into. The day we're in now, but the day we're going into. This Exodus is going to be even greater. Greater in miracles, horrific and not. Greater in multitudes. We have 6 million Jews in America who are pretty well planted. Messianic Jews sometimes are the worst. I don't want to go. I can't go. What am I going to do? What's my living? But we're planted pretty firmly. And he sent the fishermen. He says, next verse, "Behold, I will send for many fishermen, says the Lord, and they will fish them out." And that's the other thing that dawned on me today. When Billy Graham went in, I remember I was probably one of them, he can't go in there, they persecute Christians. He's going to give sanctity to the government if he goes in there. Today when I was watching that man preach in the FSU, the former Soviet Union, God says, I use that to bring down the wall. They put the crack that needed to happen for the gospel to go to those people because I was getting ready to let them loose. The first year that we made Aliyah in 1989. In 1990, over 500,000 Russians came in 1 year to Israel. That's fishing. That's big fishing. But even before that fishing, what had to happen? A government fell. The first Exodus, what had to happen? A government fell. I'm not connecting those dots, but, because then he says, without the fishermen, then there's the hunters. And they will hunt them from every mountain and every hill and out of the holes in the rocks. We're not going to be able to hide. I mean, God says already, he's going to go find you in the bushes. He's going to whistle, come. But we're not going to be able to hide either from him or the hunter. One way or the other. If we're Jewish, we're going to get found, and it's time to go. We are, Brother just said, we're in the time of the hunters now. When we're doing our daily life, flipping through the channels or scrolling Facebook and, oh, that's terrible, or they got the kids synagogue and killed people again. It's easy just to keep going and to keep scrolling or turning the channel or whatever. Because we do have a life. We do have to take care of our family. We do have common things to do. But it's really important to hold the uncommon right here. What is God doing? As naive as I was, in my little smidgen of awareness, he did make me aware of what was happening in the Soviet Union and Berlin. But it wasn't until I made Aliyah and all of a sudden I had all these Russian Jews with me. Then I connected those dots. He doesn't want us running to catch up. He sent me here now to tell you, wake up. It's happening. It's already happening now. A lot of it, you see, it's only the tip. 1,200, 1,300 anti-Semitic incidences that were reported this year alone in the United States. That's too many. And that's not even all of them. Never mind, when the enemy goes after the covenant people, he goes after both covenants. He goes after you guys. Because he's after the Word of God walking around the world. The attack on Christians in this country is like what we haven't seen before either. It's okay for this group, Muslims or gays or whatever, to say and have a broadcast, oh, but you Christians, it's a different kind of persecution than we've ever had, and it will get worse. But it's a good thing. It's birth pangs.
Amen.
We want him to come. Do we understand? Whatever your theology is as to when he comes, pre, post, mid, whatever, birth pangs have to happen. We don't have a choice about that. Right. What we have a choice is, will be the doula. Are we going to be the midwife? Are we going to be ready for the process? Now is the time to be ready. Yesterday's the time to be ready. But he sent me here to get ready. And not get ready for that, get ready for what's right in front of you, the next step tomorrow. You all already love Israel, you wouldn't be here. And that's good for you, but he doesn't let you love Israel only for you. This is wonderful and it's enjoyable and it is part of our relationship with him and with each other. But you could love Israel and never